higher. Maybe you wouldn't have gotten that cancer. Maybe you wouldn't have gotten that autoimmune disease. Maybe you would have, you know, your bone density wouldn't have been affected, or, you know, we can't correlate all the harms that interfering with a child's healthy puberty can do. So I say it's equivalent atrocity, and then I only say one's worse because of the irreparable damage, as well as the impact of that damage is just so monumental. It just can never be, it can never be rectified or undone, or even a semblance of a normal life could never be lived. So that's why I say it's worse. But yeah,
Like, because outside of family and like a husband and children, the only thing you would have forward to look to is maybe you're successful career wise if you or are trans or detransitioning and that happened to you, right? And then even then, it shortens your lifespan, so you're not even going to be able to live as long as you would. So you may unalive earlier. So it's very possible to see what Martha's saying. It makes sense.
but Queen, what did you think? Sorry, Big Brett, you're
I
not
agree
really
with you.
super involved in
So
this
I agree
campaign.
with
You're
you.
just kind of like,
I
I
just
don't know what's going on. Oh,
no,
well,
I
then
think
you will be
everything you
canceled
said
by
is
everybody.
pretty. Oh no, I don't care if people cancel me. I think everything you said is very enlightening, and I also think that if we're talking about children in general, I think it's crazy that this community thinks that children can consent to this type of treatment. They absolutely
Yes,
cannot do that. So it's
yes, which is
just another
another reason the
violation
comparison's made.
to the
Yeah,
child. So you're violating the
which is
child
another
without
reason why
consent to
that
sexually
comparison's
attack them.
made.
It's essentially the same thing. I agree with you, and I think they're both
Exactly.
really horrible. So I'm just gonna drop down.
Awesome. Well, have fun with being canceled, but because you agree with me. Queen, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are this is probably the one statement you've made that I can't get behind.
Well,
I
that's
did
why I'm glad you're here,
notice,
because I
yeah,
actually I wanna understand why. Like I genuinely don't get it. Like I'm so astonished and astounded and frankly disappointed that people don't see the sexual destruction of children as comparable, at least comparable. Like, go ahead and disagree about the worst part, because that's a bit relative. Like, because it's like, well, maybe people's idea of a semblance of a normal life is different than mine, and so we can have a difference of opinion there. But to at least not see it as atrocious, that to me, I just don't even.
once said obviously that the transitioning etc of the children is atrocious. Obviously, I stand by pretty much most stuff you say, but you have made the comparison to Child SA,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
that's where I
absolutely.
would draw the line, because potentially with Child SA, you're going to have the same consequences. The child, depending on how severe when we say SA, are we referring to grape or are we just referring to assault?
Well, yeah, and that's
Because
the
if the
thing
child's
too.
being raped, it could lead to infertility. It could be leading to the unaliving of the child because they did not obviously consent to be raped. It could lead to mental health trauma for the rest of their life where they cannot go on and function in society.
Okay, it's still worse though because again, one of the things is that we know better as a society. If we know not to groom children, right, and we're still condoning just a different form of grooming. Mind you, there's a bunch of PDF files on the black market that are busted all the time, and they'll have little girls and they'll shave their heads, right, to make them look like little boys. This is grooming behavior. It started off with John Money. He was a PDF file. It is the exact same thing. It's done in different ways, but it is
Yeah,
grooming and confusing a child. And
I
we
would
know
say
better, so that
Confusing,
makes it
it's not
worse.
confusing, but the background states destroying child's sexuality is worse than an S attack.
Yeah,
Change
because
my
we
mind.
know. Yeah,
I'm not
because we.
saying destroying their sexuality. I'm saying destroying them sexually. Like, they are destroyed sexually. I'm not talking about their sexuality, or, I'm not even talking about the impacts mentally, and which, I think destroying a child sexually does have huge long-standing impacts long term, because of being involved in a cult like this and being groomed, and then also having their parents involved in their sexual destruction, having their trusted authorities as far as doctors, surgeons, counselors, having everybody colluding to their sexual destruction and their bodily destruction and their developmental destruction. That I wow, like, I don't even. It's so monumental which is why I just don't understand. Like, and I get what you're saying. Like, there are instances where child SA can lead to infertility and stuff. I would say for the most part, people can recover physically. Definitely, there are
Physically,
circumstances.
perhaps, but certainly not emotionally nor mentally. You know,
Well, yeah,
they
and
may never go on to have a normal functioning sex life.
I'm not like, this is the thing that's the misunderstanding is I have never once claimed that CSA is no big deal. I've never been like, oh, it's just and the fact that because it's being compared to something so monumentally horrific and atrocious and destructive, and then people are taking the stance that I am saying something that minimizes CSA, that fucking astounds me too, because I am not minimizing CSA by comparing it to this, because this is fucking atrocious. Like, this is unfucking believable. And the two reasons that it's worse is, one, we are condoning this as a society. We are legitimizing this as some kind of treatment. So kids are being gaslit, manipulated, and groomed into their own sexual destruction and ending their fucking family lines due to the manipulation of this ideology. And this is being condoned. At least P3 is like, everybody agrees, except for some perverts who are trying to, and by the way, these perverts are also the people who perpetrate this ideology and perpetrate this destruction of children. So we are dealing with P3s who have perpetrated this onto children. But at least P3 in society is condemned. Terrible thing. But this isn't even condemned. And then when you want to look at the impacts, they're not only comparable, but the fact that there is no trauma therapy, there is no counseling, nothing can ever allow them to have back what was taken by this cult and by this ideology. There's nothing. There's no semblance. And like I said, I would rather go through the essay that I did as a child and the essay that happened to me as a 15-year-old with my first boyfriend than I would ever want to give up all of the things that these children have to give up before they even understand what it is. So this is, that's, I guess, where my flabbergastedness is from, is that...
Here's Martha, you can say that's what you would prefer for you as an individual or as a person, but you can't make it as a sweeping statement for everybody.
I didn't. I said that's what I would rather. Now, the sweeping statement I'm making is that both are equally atrocious, and in my opinion, and both of them are perpetrated by P3s, and both of them are attacking a child sexually, and both of them are destroying a child in psychologically and sexually. The only reason I say one is worse, and this is just my opinion, is because of the irreparable damage that it does, and the monumental impact it has on their entire life, on their entire physiology. And it impacts so many different, it also psychologically harms kids.
Hey, Martha, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but please don't say it's your opinion. It's not an opinion, it's an observation. It's something that you can validate.
Yeah, I mean, this is how I feel. And to be so unbelievably
but things
attacked.
that you can, I think it just, because here's the thing. A lot of your views I agree with, but when you start to say that it's your opinion, you just kind of you're undermining your own position.
Well, as for the worst thing, that could be relative, just like the way Queen was saying that there can be different types of essay, different things can be just molestation. I don't want to say just, but you know what I mean. If you ask a person, would you rather have your breasts molested or amputated, that's a very easy, I think for most people would be just I would, rather have them touched inappropriately than completely chopped off. And then I will never have a breastfeeding relationship with my child. I will never be able to have sexual function of my breasts. I will never have a whole healthy body with breasts. That impact is so much more, right? So it is a relative thing, where people are thinking.
I just meant in terms of the harm you're talking about. You can validate the harm that it does.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm here to do today. I think that's why I'm just so astounded. I just don't get it. I don't get the outrage. I don't understand how people don't see the comparison. I don't understand.
It's a bunch of people that have been waiting, Martha. They've been hating, and now it's just popular to not like.
That's not fair. That's not fair, because I've supported Martha.
I didn't say everyone.
She said.
Not everyone. Definitely not you, Queen. That's why you're here, Queen. Though, that's the difference. Are you on another panel canceling and being shit, or
No, I'm not
you're
canceling
Queen,
anybody. I'm just saying this is for me. This is my
exactly.
boundaries. This is
for
why I'm
you, but
thinking
there's
you've
a lot of
overstepped the
people
mark
the
with this
other day
comment.
that were in Scotty's live that were I was in Martha's live the other day, and me and Martha don't even talk. Yeah, I'm Esmeralda live. Me and Martha don't even talk like that. But I thought that they were widely taking this out of context, right? A lot of people that were in her live supporting her that day were just in yesterday in Scotty's live, going against Martha. It's a lot, maybe not you, but it's a lot of fake ass people that been hating
To be fair,
and
I
had something
saw
to
that
say.
live on the Discord. I was in bed. It was very, very well. I didn't even know what time it was UK time, but I was in
Well,
bed.
there's people here that were there, and they don't have the they don't want to come up. I'll just say that to keep it TikTok friendly.
Yeah, and
They're
not
here.
you,
They're
Queen,
here
but
watching it right now on invisible accounts. Why don't you come up here and talk about your position instead of hiding?
Well, that's kind of the whole reason why I'm here, because I actually do, like, am I missing something? Is there a point that I don't understand? And so that's why people like Queen, I expected to come up and, put their disagreements forward. And that's fine. I love that. I love disagreements. I love debating. I want to convince you of my position. If I can't convince you of my position, we can disagree. I don't see anything wrong with the disagreeing part of it. I just see what's wrong is like the unbelievable outrage about this really points to me that people don't see how comparable it is. They don't see the destruction of children by a P3 fucking like agenda, by a P3 ideology coined by P3s and P3 apologists. These fuckers are absolutely swapping child castration videos in their eunuch archive groups. These fuckers are keeping kids in prepubescent states past the age of consent and feminizing boys for their sick fantasies. Like, this is 100% like not just comparable and not just being perpetrated by the same type of people and perversions, but being condoned and practiced in polite society, in like surgeons with degrees and
Right,
authority and
WPATH.
trusted, not just WPATH, like regular surgeons who are taking the guidance from P3s are saying, yeah, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to slice a 13-year-old girl's healthy breasts off, and it's a
Right.
perfectly reasonable thing to castrate a boy. It's perfectly reasonable to interfere with a child's healthy puberty. This is why I make the comparison, because I really do need to make this comparison to help people understand that, like, we are, not us, but society is condoning something as atrocious as P3 and worse because of the irreparable harm and impacts that it inevitably does. Like, there is quite literally no coming back from castration. Like,
I'm just saying the people that have a disagreement on that, they're too coward to come up here because they're behind invisible accounts. You can't even see them in here. But you're watching.
Well,
There's
I
100 people in
I
here.
wanted to give them the opportunity, because honestly, like, if it's not just a stupid cancellation campaign because you don't like me or because you love the drama, you love to tear people down, then come put your points forward. Like Nate, for instance, he had a lot to say on that trial live about his points, and so I'm happy to debate him on it. Like, come and tell me what your points are, because
come on.
I feel very, very solid in my
You
stance on
invited
this.
to that live, Martha.
No, I was
Right.
not.
Well, see, that's where they went wrong. If they're going to discuss it, they should have at least invited you up to the panel.
I got a recording of it in Muppets Discord the other day. I only watched like literally 5 minutes of it. I was so disgusted. And just like scrolling through, seeing lives and stuff, like people being like, "Oh, I've never supported Martha or whatever. I've never whatever." Like, just trying to like be very in the in crowd and make sure that they don't get canceled, and like the campaign to like even like, I guess it just astonishes me that people feel the need to try and like cancel me at all over this. Like, it's just, if you disagree with something, like, that's okay. I don't understand why this is like some cardinal sin, some atrocity I've perpetrated. So that's why I wanted to come in today with this topic, just to see, again, have I missed something? Is there something that I've done that is absolutely unforgivable here? Like, I don't get it. I really don't get it. And the only thing I can think of is that people just genuinely don't see castrating, interfering with a child's healthy development so that they don't even develop sexually. because the disgusting autogynephile piece of absolute garbage who castrated and destroyed Jazz Jennings, he said, and he's the head of WPATH, by the way, his name's Marcy Bowers, he's an autogynephile surgeon who said that if you interfere with a boy's puberty at Tanner stage 2, he will never have sexual function. He will never be able to have an O. He will never be able to have a normal sex life. He will never be able to, bond with his partner in that way and like have a normal life. Like they are quite literally, and they know they're doing this, by the way, because he said it himself. They are quite literally destroying children sexually, and they're doing it with sanctions from society. So the comparison absolutely needs to be made so that people see the level of atrocity that is being perpetrated onto children. And yet we, in the same breath, can condemn P3. We're like, yeah, we condemn P3, but this is controversial.
I am going to drop because I do need to start getting showered and ready for bed because it's 10 to 10 in the UK.
Okay,
look,
well,
I'm not all for the cancelling culture. I think it is very much a case of agree to disagree. I really don't agree with the statement. I think they're equally bad. Well, I don't even know if I would go as far to say child rape and child SA is worse. I don't know how I feel about that. But for me, personally, it's not a comparison that should be made.
And before you go quickly, though, why do you think it shouldn't be made? Like, what about it is not comparable?
Because I just don't think it's something we should be comparing. Because, like I say, child rape, child SA can also cause infertility. It can also cause long life trauma, mental health issues. The child cannot go on and have maintain functioning relationships.
I've never negated that.
It could lead to the unaliving of the child.
Yep. Absolutely.
So
and I've never negated that
example
either.
That's comparable.
So what about all the things you just said are not comparable to what I'm talking about, like to child destruction?
Because you've said the destroying of obviously basically the transitioning is worse than the S attack. Change my mind. I clearly can't change your mind.
Well, I don't think that you're reading that properly. I don't say that the actual maybe the actual destruction of their body parts in real time isn't as traumatic as the S attack in real time. I'm talking about overall impact, overall atrocity, overall harm. I'm talking about, so when you said all those things about child sexual attack, which I 100% agree with you, I'm not negating or minimizing any of the things you just said. What about what you just said isn't comparable to child sexual destruction?
I think one is worse than the other.
Okay, well, I can agree with you that like all those things, like they're comparable, they're the same. However, that like there is a possibility of having a normal life, of having like what you've lost from the S attack can definitely interfere in all the ways that you said, but it can also be recovered from. Whereas what I'm talking about, there is absolutely no possibility, not even 1%. So if we say,
me personally, it's not a comparison I would make, and it's not something I would dream of making, and I certainly wouldn't dream of making it on social media, because that will stick with you, and that will unfortunately follow you around.
Well, I don't. So you're implying that it's something wrong to make, though, and that's the thing. Like, I don't agree. I don't see that it's something wrong to make. If it follows me around, I'm happy for that, because I want people to see sexual destruction of a child as serious, if not more harmful in the long run and in the larger impacts of their entire life. I want them to compare. I want to defend this. Wait,
does she agree with you that, Martha, that this is destructive? These things are both destructive?
Yeah, I don't think it's a comparison we should be making.
She's saying you can't say one over the other.
Wait, do you think they're both destructive to children, though? All right, so then they compare in that way.
Wouldn't make that comparison, and I certainly don't think.
But wait, when I asked you that question, you just compared them by saying that they're both destructive to children.
And they're both
destructive because sexually. The statement's out there. I'm obviously in a position now where I've got to decide. So you just made the
same comparison then? You don't actually disagree?
No, she's saying you can't say one's wrong over the other.
Well, I'm not saying over as much as
I
like
know you're not, but that's the consensus with that side is saying it's wrong to compare the
to
two
make the
or
comparison in the first place, and
yeah.
that's what I'm confused about, because it's so utterly comparable. Like it's literally, one is a sexual attack and one is a sexual attack plus destruction that's irreparable and can never be undone. Like, and I know that the sexual attack can never be undone, but the ramifications of the sexual attack, like if we looked at, I don't know this percentage, but let's say 40% of people got trauma therapy. The sexual attack didn't occur with any like irreparable physical damage, and they were able to have kids, have a husband, have a life, and live a happy life with their whole bodies intact. Let's say 40%, or even 30%, or any percent you want. Go ahead and look it up even. Compared to the sexual destruction of a child, 0% can ever have that semblance of a normal life. So that's the only, like literally the only reason why I'm saying it's worse. And then as far as like it's absolutely comparable. Like I just don't understand how that's not
Hey,
how that's not
Martha,
understood.
Nate said that he would come and civilly debate and like tell you his disagreements, but he said he's blocked you, that you blocked him
Oh
on.
yeah, I did block him.
So if you
How
want
do
to,
I unblock him?
I think it only his Edna mode accounts. His other two accounts are the ones, because I think he's Kiwied on his main,
Okay.
but
Wait, Nate disagrees?
Oh, he's happy to
yeah.
throw me under the bus with anything though.
All
But
of the cancel culture people disagree. It's a big
Can
group
I?
of people.
But yeah, I do have to drop. I just wanted to let you know, and then
I don't
I'll.
know exactly how to unblock him from here. Life, if I made you, I'll make you a mod anyway. But do you know? Can you unblock people if I make you a
You
mod?
go to the circle
I
in the
shall
settings
try.
down there. You can see the block list. If you go to the settings area down there at the bottom.
While I'm on live, I can do that.
Yeah, you should be able to do this on live down at the settings.
Okay. So under guests or under the dots or under what?
No, it should be there should be a area for people that are blocked. Like even if you go to your main account while you're on live.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll let Life try to do that because there's just a few more people on the panel that might want to speak.
Right. Let me
Um,
try.
Because I do really need to start getting
Oh yeah,
showered and ready
no
for
worries.
bed.
Thanks for coming up. And Queen, I'm
No
happy to
worries.
disagree. It's totally
Yeah,
no worries to disagree. Like we can
yeah,
disagree on things. All right. Good night.
absolutely.
Thanks
All
for
right,
coming up.
thanks, Martha.
And then Wolf or Alyssa, did you want to say anything?
Just wanted to add really quickly that division usually comes from inside the house. And it's kind of sad to have such a strong mission statement, to have such a group come together to kind of attack and to go against this narrative or go against this way of life or go against these rules and regulations that are hindering and barring young girls, for now to have such civil discord in regards to people's egos and feelings, because I feel like a lot of this um, could be finished or kind of squashed with a conversation. And I always said something growing up that you don't condemn your spouse outside. You always do something inside the house, away from the outside eyes. So it doesn't show that there's discord within that group or within that relationship. That on the outside, you have a united front. Even though there's issues within the house, you take care of that stuff in-house. For this
There's
to be
no possibility of that in this toxic
and
community.
it's sad because
This
it's not to
toxic
say that
community is all
and the
about like
mission on both sides is the same. The language on both sides is the same. The end goal, what you guys want, is the same on both sides. It's just unfortunate that egos are now to come into play and are pitting two groups that are initially having the same mission statement against each other. We've seen this time and time again in society. You divide and conquer. We're stronger
Yep.
in numbers. And I think that's what's happening. I was on both lives last night, going back and forth, just kind of understanding where this discord came from. And it's a simple misunderstanding of words. And if someone was really cared to have an understanding of what you meant and understand where your thought was, all they really had to do was ask you. And the fact that that wasn't brought to your attention or wasn't brought to your table to have that conversation, to have that discord, to turn around and have a live about it, just seemed really disingenuous for me. And it doesn't do anything from the outside looking in as a GC or whatever the names or terms are that are being used in that community. So I always say discord It's basically divide and conquer, and I think that this main divide is coming from somewhere else because a lot of the conversations, a lot of the repeats or the docking that's happening is coming from outside of the group. Someone from the outside is coming in and then stirring up the pot and then watching everything dissolve. And it's pretty sad to see. So I just want to come in and say that usually it's better to fix problems in-house than to have people from the outside have an opinion on what's going on. But you
And
already said,
I do wish that we like, and this is one of the reasons why I said I'm leaving TikTok, or I'm not leaving TikTok. I'm just leaving this community because this community is toxic like that. Like it's very cliquey, hierarchical, popularity contest, drama vampire world. And I realized in the last 2.5 years that there are definitely people who are wanting to fight this fight, and those are the people who will stick with me through my going forward. But the people who are just the drama vampires and the loving this cancellation stuff, loving this, like, being as disingenuous and as attacking and, like, selective attacking, because there was lots of people who said the literal exact same thing as I did, but because they capitulated when they realized that this was not popular or whatever, they're forgiven. But because I'm standing strong on my convictions about this, like, the absolute destruction needs to happen, and there's no solidarity in that. There's no, like, we're fighting this cause together, and I've realized that over and over again, because it hasn't just happened to me a couple of times, but I've seen it happen to multiple other people. And so there is no hope of ever having that solidarity within this toxic GC community. However, I do have hope that I can build my own, like, community of true fighting, like people who actually want to fight this, people who give each other the benefit of the doubt. If they disagree, yeah, like you said, work it out, have a solid front against the ideology instead of just this petty, dramatic bullshit.
and again, just to jump back in, it's okay to be wrong. Like you said, I heard you say that I'm okay with being wrong and being corrected. That takes educate. That takes a smart person. A smart person is able to say, you know what, I don't know enough on this topic. Can you educate me? Or, hey, I was incorrect on this topic. This is what I said wrong, or this is why I said that. This is why I feel this way. Can we talk about why I said that? And that's not coming. You're being painted with this broad brush or this broad paint, or you are this person because of this statement.
Yeah, like,
and
I'm bad.
Unfair because you're a bad person. But it negates I've only been on listening to this for a couple months now. It negates all the other lives and all the other conversations, all the other discord that you had, that you were supporting of them and they were in agreement. Where's that support then? It's like they're picking and choosing, and I think it's really unfair.
Yeah, and that's why I'm here today too, because if there is something I'm missing, I'm open to it, and that's why I even want to debate Nate, because I think that unless he does his, like, disingenuous attacking bullshit, then I don't have time for it.
No,
but if he actually,
no. I think he's just going to say that you should have. He's just saying, from what I saw yesterday, that you should just admit that it was a incorrect statement and everyone should move on. But my thing before I got to go is like, do you care about what these people say? Because if you don't, like, why worry about people that don't align with your worldview? Like, why try to satisfy them? Like,
well, I guess I care about some of what people, like, there's definitely a group of people that I fully understand that no matter what I say, they will try to twist it, to misunderstand it, to be as uncharitable as deliberately misunderstanding so that they can keep the cancellation campaign going, like that. I understand that there's definitely a group of, yeah, like,
they did
there's
it with
definitely
the dress
and
thing.
Also the blackface, woman face
right,
thing, everything. Like, so there's definitely a group of people who, like, I know are just shit and I don't care. But there's definitely another group of people that, like, perhaps I'm missing something. Perhaps they don't fully understand what I mean. Perhaps I can influence their understanding of what the hell I'm talking about instead of just leaving it at, like, what they think. Like, if there is any actual misunderstandings, I want to clear that up, and I want to actually defend my point, because this is kind of a new argument that, like, I think is important to make because of, like I say, the condoning of this and the condemning of P3 when, so yeah, I think it's an important thing to make, and I think it's an important thing for society to hear, because we can't be
Yeah, I would just say if like you're not gonna
I tried
have
to
any,
unblock
like,
Nate, guys. I tried to unblock, but he wasn't on the blocked list, and so I think
Oh,
he just wrote
so
me
maybe
back, and
you
then
have to be unblocked, like because I didn't. He wasn't
yeah.
blocked on a live. He was just blocked in general.
Oh, I think that's what it is. I think you
Um,
have to do that then. I think you have to go to your you have
but
to go to
wouldn't I
like
have to end the
the
live to
share
do that?
setting.
no, I think
No, I
you
think
can go to your account
go
right
to your
now.
share, like you know where it says share the live, like down the below, like the little
Okay,
you
yeah.
know how you shared it to me, like you hit share and then hit like the settings at the bottom. That's what I did, and then I don't know if
Settings.
that has anything to do with
All
it.
share has for me. Oh, unless it says more. No, that just goes into my phone and stuff.
Should be in the privacy section. If you just click on your profile, it might go black for us. You might not be able to say anything, but
Okay, I see settings.
yeah. It should be
Moderate. Oh,
somewhere.
blocked accounts. Oh, this might be easier than I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
It didn't show up on there for me,
Whoa.
so I think since he's blocked in
I
general, I
don't
think you
think
might have to
you
go.
might not
Yeah,
be
he's
a
not in
super
there
mod.
for. He's not in there. The
Yeah, I
blocked
think you have to click
accounts.
your profile. I think you have to click your profile, which it'll still stay. The live will still stay up,
Okay, I'm clicking my
and then
profile.
click like I guess your follower. I mean, anybody else know how to do it from here? From
No,
there.
if I click my profile, it doesn't go anywhere. Oh, Edna is
Oh,
here. Because I don't think I blocked all his accounts, just one.
okay. I think he said he's coming on another one anyway.
Okay. I can unblock him when I end the live, but I don't know how to do it otherwise. But before he comes up,
Okay, he's
Wolf,
here.
did you want
I'm
to say
gonna
anything?
drop.
Okay,
I'm gonna
cool.
drop
Thanks for
and let you
coming.
guys. All right, I'll be in the
I'll
comments.
drop too. I was just saying I support you. Don't worry about people that will never support you. Maybe you can find common ground on
Yeah,
certain things, but
there's definitely
you.
like people who are just have it out and they're gonna take any
Oh,
opportunity to drag me down. But those people, I don't care. I'm not gonna like continue to like
yeah,
try
because
and
there's
convince them. And
because
Nate kind of is one of those people, but Nate's also a good debater that I actually do want to see if he has anything that I'm missing. Like if there's any
I
points that
think
I'm
Nate's
missing.
logical though. You might disagree on certain things. I don't think he's uncharitable though. Like I think
Oh,
Nate will
he's when it
be.
comes to me, he's definitely
I
uncharitable.
mean,
But
I've seen a
whatever.
lot of it play out, but I'm just saying for the people, there will always be a next thing that you say. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah,
always going to
totally.
be a what's happening next? What's the next thing that's going to be said where we cancel over? But thanks for having me
Yeah.
up, Martha.
No
Good
worries. Thanks
talking
for
to
the
you.
support, and we'll talk
Yep.
soon.
Yep.
Okay.
I
Before we
never knew
go,
that you and Nate had any disagreement ever.
we have, yeah, it's been off and on, but yeah. Before you go, Nate, hold on. I'm just gonna see if Wolf wanted to say anything because they've been up here for a while.
Yeah, so this is not a debate. This is more of a discussion. So, how could you compare CSA to transitioning? Like, have you ever experienced SA?
Yeah, as a child and also as a 15-year-old, first experience with my boyfriend.
Okay, so you've experienced it. So now, in your experience, you got therapy and were able to, as you said before, recover, right?
Well, recover to the degree that I could have a normal life. I could have a husband and a
Define normal.
family and well, just
Okay.
functional. Like I'm able to work, I'm able to have a family, I'm able to have a
Mhm.
relationship, I'm able to enjoy a level of mental health that is not catastrophic. Like I'm living a life that is satisfying and good. There's definitely still harm. Like there's never, no matter what happens, it's never undone. You can never undo anything that happens, traumatic, detrimental. However, with destroying a child sexually, the destruction is so complete that there is no possibility of a semblance of a normal life. There is no, you can never be a whole body again. You can never
But let's go
have a
back on
family or
CSA for a minute. So you, as in your words, you were saying you were able to recover it, right? So with me, when
to
it
a
happened
degree,
to me,
yeah.
okay, so to a degree. So when it happened to me when I was 6 years old, it affected me tremendously. And even still to this day, I have vicious flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to even make that comparison is a slap in the face to
So
other
why?
victims
Why is
and
that
survivors.
why is that a
What?
slap in the face?
It's
Like
a
the
it's
only
a very bad comparison, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay.
okay, yeah, why?
For one, your assault may not have been as vicious. There are young girls out there, okay, who are assaulted to the degree where their insides are literally torn up or even have to be removed. So for you to even make that comparison is dehumanizing those victims, those survivors. And I
Why?
think it's just absolutely, I just said why.
Okay,
You're
so the only
you're
thing I can think of
dehumanizing
is
them.
that you're not
So for you
seeing
to
the
take,
destruction of a child.
hang on.
For you to take one trauma and try to trump it over another, no, you do not do that. Both
So
of
I'm
them,
not.
both
This is so. This is
situations
what I'm
are
talking
bad.
about. This is the
Transitioning as
disingenuousness.
children, I do not agree with. But to compare, okay, a trauma that you've also experienced to transitioning is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely
Why though? What
disgusting.
is it? Because you
I
don't
just
see
said
the.
why. Do you not
Okay, but
listen or do you only listen to respond?
okay, if you're gonna be like this, I'm not having you up here. So if you actually want to have a good conversation,
I'm
happy to do
telling
it.
you.
But if you're
I'm
going
telling you.
to, yeah, so you're not, I'm asking why in the way that you're
Okay,
not
go ahead.
seeing,
Go ahead.
okay, so child transition, which is a sanitized way of saying the destruction of a child sexually, which is perpetrated by P3s and P3 apologists, by the way, um, you not seeing the destruction of that child's body, development, and future and life, you not seeing that as comparable and you being slapped in the face and seeing that it only tells me that you're minimizing child sexual destruction in the face of child sexual attack. That's
It's
why I
still
don't
no
understand.
comparison. It is no
Why is it
comparison.
not comparable though?
One
Like what?
trauma should not be compared to another.
Okay, I'm not necessarily comparing the trauma because there can be a lot of different traumas within both, right? Like you said, it can be more of a horrific attack compared to like certain molestations or whatever. So there's degrees in the spectrum within each atrocity, let's say. Same with child sexual destruction at the hands of certain surgeons. They can do botched jobs. They can children have been unalived because of it. So it's a matter of degree for both. However, what is happening is comparable. The sexual attack of a child is comparable to the sexual destruction of a child. And so you to me, and I'm slapped in the face, I'm upset as a person who has a family, has a life, has a whole intact body, and has also been essayed as a child and as a young teen in my first experience, that you don't see the atrocity and the destruction and the harm that the sexual attack and destruction of a child because of this sick fucking ideology, for you just not to see the comparison or not to see how harmful they both are. You don't have to agree with me that one's worse. The only reason I say one's worse is because of the irreparable and monumental impact on that child's life of destroying them sexually, as well as interfering with their healthy development and puberty, as well as, taking their endocrine system and destroying and attacking it. So that can cause a whole, anyway, but for you not to even see the comparison and for you to be insulted by the comparison, I literally don't understand, other than for you to just not think that one is as serious as the other, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, because you had said at one point that if a child has been essayed, they can get over it. Those were your words, right?
There's
That's
a
why
possibility of it.
right. But again, you
There's no
cannot.
possibility of getting over the castration of your
You
body.
cannot
You can't
compare
get over
them.
that. There's no trauma therapy. There's no counseling. There's no healing that. It's unhealable. Like perfectly unhealable. You can
Okay,
never.
so all right, so I've spoken to some trans individuals, okay, and they've told me what their experiences are. And they told me the same thing that you are, that they go to counseling, they go to therapy. So how can you say that, oh, there's none of this, there's none of that? And when you won't even actually sit down and have a reasonable discussion with a trans individual instead of just
So wait,
dehumanizing
are
them.
you trying to say that there's a way to go to counseling and therapy and heal being castrated?
There are some that I've spoke to, yes. Have you taken the time to sit down and speak to trans individuals?
So
Answer the question, yes or no. Have you?
yes, I for 2.5 years, yes. But like seriously, Wolf, like
So how are
you,
you going to sit there and say that these people, these individuals don't get
how are
therapy
you
and
going to
they don't
sit
get
there and
help
say
either?
that you can ever recover from being
Again,
castrated?
I'm not saying that you cannot recover. There is no recovery, but you're trying to say that, oh, when it comes to SA, you can recover, you can get therapy. Some people, they do
Yeah,
not recovery, and therapy is
I'm not
a load of,
negating that.
it's a load of
You
shit.
act
So
as if I'm
again,
negating that,
so
which I'm
again,
not.
okay, again, like I'm speaking. So again, you cannot compare the two. Both of them, okay? Both
And I will,
situations.
and I did, and
It's
I
okay.
have.
Again, I'm talking. So again, both situations are horrid. We can both agree
Yes.
on that. But you cannot compare one to the other. You just can't. You're comparing traumas. That's what
No,
you're doing.
this
You
is what
are.
I'm comparing. Well, the
You're
whole reason for
comparing
this,
traumas, one
okay,
over the
well,
other, and one does
there's
not
a lot,
trump the
there's a lot
other.
more people to talk to, and because you're like literally from like the Michelle group, the doxing group, the insane group, I don't want to give you too much time. but I'd rather talk to like Nate or Rue or whoever. But just in closing, I have to say to you that like I'm not necessarily comparing traumas, because you can't really do that. You can't. There's no way to be like, okay, you know, having your genitalia fondled as a child is not as bad as having your genitalia cut off. You know what I mean? Like, but that's not the same for everybody, right? Because there can be horrific, like damaging grapes, and so it's really hard to like pinpoint the trauma and be like, this one's worse than this one. What I'm trying to do with the comparison is simply this. As a society, we condemn P3 and all of its spectrum of harm, right? We condemn that. We do not condemn sexual destruction of children. We have our trusted authorities doing it, parents, counselors, and we have a society and a cult. I don't know who you are, but hold on. So the reason for the comparison is that if we condemn P3, but not something that is perpetrated by P3s and P3 apologists that literally irreparably destroy our children sexually, then that is unbelievably fucked up. So that comparison needs to be made. It's a little bit like, when I do that a lot. I compare something that's already unanimously decided this is bad, this is harmful, nobody's condoning this. And then I go, well, why are we doing this? And the reason why these are comparable at all is because they're sexually destructive. They're perpetrated by P3s and P3 apologists. They are literally taking a child and either sexually attacking them, perpetrating a sexual attack on them, or they are taking a child and they can't consent, because there's all sorts of different, you know, levels of harm too. Like the children, there's lots of children who were groomed and they become adults and they're like, oh, that was just my first boyfriend, and you know, that was fine and whatever. And then they realize, oh my God, I was groomed and I was sexually attacked, right? And that's kind of the same as like with this sexual destruction. These children are groomed. They're made think it was their idea. The gaslighting, the manipulation, the lack of support from our systems. Like we can't condemn one, which is sexual attack, and then condone or even make controversial another, which is literal sexual attack plus complete and utter sexual destruction. So that's why I make the comparison. Not to take the individual traumas that people suffer at the hands of either, because there are, like I say, there's a spectrum for either. But yeah, I don't know who wants to go next.
The main point. Am I echoing?
No, you're good. No.
The main point being that you should have not made the statement, and I'm disagreeing with you, that you should have said that one is worse than the other. What you're doing is you're minimizing right persons who go through CSA. No.
How is that minimizing?
Well, I'm explaining it. So when you say something is worse than something else, what you're saying is that the thing that you're comparing it to is better. That's what it means. So if I say to you...
Did you read the background at all? Like, do you disagree with that?
Yeah. What you put in the search bar is, does worse mean the same as the word better? It does not mean the same thing. But when you're talking about the word worse, the thing that you're comparing it to is made to seem better. So you didn't research the right thing. What's written up there is a result to a search that says, does worse mean the same as better? Clearly, that's not the case. Everybody knows that the words don't mean.
So then, don't say that I'm saying it's better, because I'm not saying it's better.
It's entailed in what you're saying. You have to understand the difference between what you explicitly state and what is implicitly entailed in the statements that you make. Something you
Did you not hear her when she said it's worse because we know as a society that it's wrong and we already condemn P3DO?
Can I just finish what I'm saying?
Yeah, but did you hear that, Edna?
I did, and I don't care, because...
Okay, so she already put her logic behind it, so what do you have to say about that?
Is that reason I'm being interrupted? Because I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you're interrupting me while I'm talking.
It's Esme. I'm on a backup page. I was talking to you just yesterday.
I really don't care. I'd like to finish.
Yeah, so answer the question. She already put her logic behind it. What do you have to say about her logic? You're going off of something you think. She already told you.
The logic doesn't follow, because it makes what you're doing is you're causing.
So Failer, don't remove people, don't mute people. Let me handle the moderation.
Okay, well, you're not handling the moderation because she just interrupted me and you sat there and did nothing. So are you going to keep letting people do that? Because you said you wanted to have a civil discussion and your people are just talking over me. What's it going to be? Because I'm pretty much finished with you as a whole. You're the one who asked me to be here, so I'm not going to be interrupted. If that's
I do want to set a little parameters. If you're going to be here having a discussion, it's going to be like genuine, not not like for you to just get clout off of attacking and sort of whipping up more frenzy. Like if you actually do want to make points, I'm happy to hear them. But if
I
you're
don't
here
think
just to be shitty,
I don't think anyone needs to get clout from you. You don't have any clout to take, so that's fine. No,
well, no, but you standing on the back of downfall is a
I'm
pretty
not
hurting
standing on
thing
the back
too.
of downfall. You caused your own
No, but
downfall.
no, I haven't caused my own downfall. You guys are taking something and running with it
I'll
for
explain
your
how.
own
I'll
for your
explain
own
how.
power moves.
I'll explain
And
how you
that's,
caused your own downfall. Can I finish?
well, I mean, I don't think I've had a downfall. I think that people just disagree, and the ones who want to cancel me are trying to do a campaign, and you're
You,
joining them for
you've
your own sort
cancelled.
of popularity contest. But
No, nobody needs to be in a popularity contest with you, Martha. The point is that your comparison was in poor taste and you minimized child sexual.
okay, so let's get back to the debate then.
So can I finish?
Why is it minimizing it when
I was explaining
so
I was
so
explaining
you
it.
okay,
So
go
can I
ahead.
finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
So as I was saying, when you say that something is worse than something else, what is implicitly entailed there is that the thing that you're comparing it to is better. So for example, if I say to you that the reliability of Toyotas is better than BMWs,
Oh my.
which car's reliability is better, the BMW or the Toyota?
I don't think that's appropriate comparison with what we're
It
saying
is the
here.
exact same thing. If you don't understand principles, you need to work on understanding principles. So I'm going to ask the question again. If I say to you that the reliability of Toyotas is worse than BMWs, which reliability is better?
Yeah, this is
Okay, so
not
you don't want
making
to
a
answer.
point.
So you don't want to answer. So this is the point. So you don't understand the principles. You said you were here to debate, but you don't understand basic analogies. This is the point. So this is why you'll never understand what people are saying to you, because you don't seem to understand what is implied by the word worse. When you say something is worse than something else, you're stating that the thing that it is compared to is better than the other thing. If I say to you, the taste of apples is worse than oranges, which fruit tastes better, Martha?
Well, that's just pure opinion.
Sorry, yes, but what am I saying when I make that statement?
You're saying, in your opinion, you prefer the
No,
taste
when I
of,
say
yeah.
one is worse, which is out of which of the two, which is better? I'm not talking about.
Okay, so in order to not imply that one is better, like
Please
as if
please
it's
answer the
good,
question.
what word would you use then?
Please,
If
no.
not
You're not answering the question.
I know you want to control everything, but this is actually my live. So
No. I'm not trying to control everything. I'm trying to hold you
no,
to the
but
question that you.
yeah,
Hold on.
I'm not gonna be led down the path. I'm going to like
No.
ask
So you don't
you.
want to answer the hypothetical. So you're being
Well,
disingenuous.
I just find it a little bit like a time wasting,
It's
because you're
not.
trying to prove, like, all you're trying to prove here is that I think that one is good or something, or one is like,
No, what you're
and
saying
I
is
do.
that one is better.
So
When
you
you
disagree. I just want to get this clear. You disagree. You would rather, let's say, do you think that castrating a child is better than a child experiencing, say,
I
their
avoid
genitalia being
I
molested?
avoid those kinds of questions because I don't like minimizing things. That's why I'm not taking the position that you are. I would never compare them to figure out which was worse or better.
But why does one have to be minimized?
Both are yeah.
When both are
That's the
atrocious,
question.
right?
That's the question we should be
Okay,
asking you because you're the one.
here's
Sorry,
the only.
did you ask me the question for me to answer for you to talk to yourself?
Okay,
Could you do
go
it or
ahead.
not? Thank you. Now, when you what?
Just
Yeah,
how I thought it would be.
the question. Well, yeah. I'm so sorry, Martha. Intelligence is a little bit difficult for you, but the point is
Okay,
that
yeah, that's
if
good.
if
Sorry,
you,
drop me, but like, can you answer the question? Like,
No,
damn.
the
Look
whole
here, Marta.
Can I just
Nobody
can I
gives
just
a
jump
damn.
in there?
Answer her logic.
Can I just jump in there? If you say one is worse than the other, like if I say to his question, that means they're both bad, but one is worse than the other. It all depends on interpretation. Now, I can perceive it as apples taste worse than grapes. That means they both taste bad, but apples taste worse than grapes. But they're both negative.
Better than apples.
Well, I can both acknowledge that both things are negative, but one is more negatively impacting this person. Or John is always late, but his car broke down. Well, his car broke down, therefore he's always late. That's why it's always a negative. But I can understand that one negative is over the other negative, but they're both negatives. But to conflate and say, well, one is a positive by you saying worse, that's not what worse means. If you Google the word worse, nowhere does it say the word better or in comparison to being a positive.
But Alyssa, the thing is, when you're comparing,
I agree with that.
when,
Martha,
if
I
I,
think your logic is consistent here.
And maybe it's because I come from a different country and the English that I use is UK English. So
yeah.
my dictionary
Wait,
is
Alyssa,
different.
I use UK English. If you say apples and grapes, right, and you're comparing that, and you say they're both gross, but apples are worse than grapes, the implication there is that you're saying that grapes are better. Although both bad, that's fine. You're still implying that one is not as bad as the other.
Okay, but she already said it's
Hang on, I'm talking to Alyssa.
No, I'm highlighting.
I'm talking to Alyssa.
I'm highlighting that, in my opinion, I feel like if I had to rank it, that's a comparison. So you're ranking in a negative. You're ranking two negatives. So
yes,
apples
that's fine.
and grapes
I acknowledge
are both
that.
negative, and I'm saying, in my opinion, I think that this one is more negative than the other. I'm not saying by having that comparison, it makes grapes taste like potpourri. I'm not saying by it's
that wasn't
worse,
what I implied either.
But that's
what's kind of being implied with this whole witch hunt,
implication. But an implication
I agree with you,
on
Martha.
your understanding. An implication is based on your understanding, how you perceive that to be. So that's based on what you think, right? So that's why when someone says worse, well, if you say, I think this is worse, it's usually trumped up the I think this is worse, or the community thinks, or apples are worse than grapes. Well, who said that? Then you can go into whose thought it was and why they said that. But to say it's just positive because it's a comparison,
no one said it was
flawed.
Positive. Wait, but nobody said it was positive. That's the thing, right? So that's what I'm saying.
So where are we getting the word better
right,
from?
okay, so if you let me explain. So I can acknowledge that, Martha, you may think both are bad, right? Like, I acknowledge that you think that, and I'm glad you do. Both are terrible, right? We acknowledge this. But to have then a ranking, I don't think we need to rank these kind of really terrible things, because they're both very terrible, and we condemn both, right?
But like I already said, it's not a ranking. It's literally to try to illustrate when we condemn one in society,
we condemn both.
And we don't condemn both. We are
Is
literally
Trump not reversing things? Are they not reversing things in the UK right now?
I don't actually know how much they are. They're still doing clinical trials in the UK with kids. There's still, last I heard, the NHS is transing toddlers.
Where did
Canada,
you hear
that?
In my state of California, we are a sanctuary state for trans kids. For
in America and the UK, puberty blockers are now illegal for children, right? So the world is starting
now
to
the
realize.
state of California.
Wait. I'm sorry, I don't even know who you are, but like, I'm trying to have a conversation with Martha. Martha asked specifically if people disagree with her to come and talk to her, and that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to be respectful, and I'm trying to have a conversation with Martha.
So
thank you.
I understand that there is some like backtracking here and there, and to what degree I'm not quite sure. I don't know if kids are still being trans after Trump. I think they are. Like he's saying, Lazarus is saying, in California, there's a lot of disobeying the executive orders, and I don't know exactly what the executive orders say. Like, are they actually stopping the transing of kids? I don't know.
No,
Canada, though, we're not. We're going hell
as far
forward.
as the executive orders, that has to do with like Title IX funding, federal funding to states for like sex segregated sports. But California, as a state, is now complicit in the trafficking of children for the purpose of gender mutilation. Okay, so there's a lot of instances now where a married couple separate. The mother wants to transition the child. The father doesn't. The mother hijacks the child, takes the child to California. The father loses all custody and all control of what happens. It is still happening.
Yeah, and we're condemning it, right? Like, I acknowledge that there's still terrible things going on, but I feel like as societies as a whole, we're starting to realize that this is a horrific thing to be doing to children, and we're starting to roll it back. Is it still happening? I acknowledge it is, but we're now starting to see as a whole society, like I would say majority of society are reversing it back, and I don't think we like. So my issue with it, Martha, my issue with it as a whole is I don't think we need to compare it. I think we can acknowledge that both are terrible, which you do, and then just leave it at that. I don't like whataboutisms. We talk about
no, it is actually
Orca, respectfully,
even if it's
respectfully, I'm talking to Martha. Respectfully, I'm talking to Martha. I don't even know who you are.
You know better. So I don't care.
Like, respectfully, I'm talking to Martha. I don't even know who you guys are.
I don't care. You're up on this live. If I'm up here on this live, if Martha drops me, cool. I don't give a fuck.
I'm trying to have a like Martha asked if people
talking,
disagree to come and talk to her, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do.
Because you guys are completely ignoring her logic behind it. This is just a witch trial.
Well, that's what I wanted to like. What I wanted to ask Nate, and what I wanted to ask you is like, are you not hearing what I'm saying about the reason I compared it?
Yes, I hear you.
The reason I make comparisons like this is to build off of what is already established as wrong and atrocious. When something is happening that's totally comparable in the way that there's sexual attack and there's a spectrum of harm there, and then there's sexual destruction and there's a spectrum of attack there. One is condemned, one is controversial, and is still practiced by positions of authority. It's still being spread on social media. It's not like we've got P3s on social media being like, hey guys, here's how to do this to kids, blah, 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 and everyone's celebrating it and having lives about it and big tech supporting it, and like our doctors doing it and our counselors doing it and our parents doing it to kids and our teachers endorsing it and helping this happen to kids. Like, this is so atrocious, and the fact that there is sanction within different factions of society, and I don't know if we're the minority or if we're the majority who are against this. All I know is that in Canada here, it's rampant. In Australia, it's rampant. We've got children being literally destroyed because of this ideology, and they're being destroyed sexually, and they're being you have to first attack their body, which is sexual attack.
A child in my
and then
school
you have
district
to destroy their body, which is what's happening. So
I just think
the reason why I'm comparing them is to give the impact of my statement. I want the full impact of how atrocious P3 is, to add to the impact of how atrocious sexual destruction is to our kids. And the only reason I say it's worse is because of the irreparable nature of it and the large impact it has on their entire life, on their entire lifespan. There is zero possibility of ever having a semblance of a normal life as far as a healthy whole body, a healthy whole endocrine system, sexual function, a family, and a relationship, to the degree that you could if you got counseling and stuff for trauma, for sexual attack. Okay, that's the only reason I'm saying it's worse. That is not at all minimizing the despicable, disgusting, horrific, atrocious harm that P3 does in all of its spectrum of harm. I don't understand where the minimizing thing's coming from.
She's not even comparing the grapes. She's comparing the fact that the adults in society know better and we're still allowing it. Do you realize that?
So, Martha, the thing is, right, I think we don't need to compare. Like, we as a side, like the whataboutisms, we don't need to do it. When we're talking about trans people, we don't, it is. When we're talking about trans people, we don't need to start bringing up race of what about this, what about that. When we're talking about child SA, we can focus on the atrocity that it is. And when we talk about the mutilation of children, we can focus on the atrocity that it is. I don't know why we need to
if that's your strategy of fighting this, I'm not going to doubt you for it. I'm not going to attack you for it. But my strategy is comparing things that are comparable. And when one is condemned and the other is condoned, I do compare that. That was my blackface, woman face comparison. When you have two things that are exactly the fucking same. And by the way, Nate, you fucking defended that with me multiple times before you decided it wasn't popular to do so. But you know, the logic is sound, the logic is there, and it puts it in their face. It's like, oh, so you think that blackface is bad, but you think woman face is okay. And the only reason why people get insulted by that is the same reason that people are insulted by this. They don't see sexism and its impacts of femicide, dehumanization, getting beaten, getting tortured, being oppressed in numerous ways to this date, by the way, and being unalived every 10 minutes. They don't see racism and sexism as equal or as impactful or as harmful. It's a misogyny, right? And it's the same with this. There is a apologism going on here, an apologism from society about the sexual destruction of our children. So when I make the comparison and people are insulted by that, the only thing I can conclude is that they just don't see it as comparable or as serious when it fucking is. Like,
I think maybe like
women face are exactly the same thing. They're exactly the same thing in principle. What they are, destroying a child sexually which takes attacking them sexually as well by P3s and P3 apologists, and attacking a child sexually by P3s and P3 apologists are the same thing. Their
So I
impacts
think
are
like
different because of the spectrum of harm of how that attack occurs, how much attack occurred. Because, like I say, with destroying children sexually, as far as this ideology goes, there is a spectrum of harm that can occur. Like you could go the full nine and everything can be destroyed, or some things can be destroyed. And that's the same with sexual attack. It can be, it's a whole spectrum. So
I think the thing is, so I think the main issue I take from it, and I don't know everybody, the main issue I take from it is like the word worse, right? And I know you say it doesn't mean the same as better, but like the implications of that word, like I'm not the only one that feels like it's implying that if one is worse, one is better. That's the implication. And I think it's okay to make comparisons. Like if you wanted to, you could say blackface bad, woman face bad. Like they're both very bad things. Like if that's how you want to approach it, you can say child essay bad, atrocious. You can say child mutilation bad, atrocious. But I don't know why we need to then say this one's worse. Why can't we just say both horrific, kind of similar, and then just leave it at that? I don't know why we need to like say
because
worse.
I've already explained to you numerous times why I say it's worse and why I think it's important to say it's worse. Because again, it's an in-your-face statement.
But if you think they're both bad,
society,
can't you just say they're both bad?
Because it falls flat then. If I'm just like both are bad, like it just kind of.
Well, no, I disagree.
No, Martha,
I disagree that it falls flat.
I don't think it falls flat. Like if I said to you, hey, Martha, I think child mutilation and what they're doing to these young children is the same as or just as bad as child SA, I think you're not going to get the same amount of pushback as you're getting when you say one is worse. Because I think, like I say, the implication is you may be implying, that's not what you meant, but people are taking it as the implication of you're saying this one's worse, so therefore this one's a little bit better. Even if they're both bad, one is marginally better. I think you can just say like, hey, these are both horrific, atrocious things. They're kind of comparable, but not have to like put them in a this is worse, this is like worse. You get what I'm trying to say?
But what about the idea about why I'm saying it's worse though? Like if I don't say it's worse, then I can't tell you why I think it's worse.
But you could just say why they're both atrocious and elaborate why they're both atrocious things, and then you can elaborate like this is SA and mutilation.
Why does that need to be
the
worse?
Comparison, like I can't make the comparison then. I can't be like, okay, this is so P3 is terrible. You have the ability to heal from it, possibly your body intact, your sexual function intact, your ability to have kids in the future, your ability to have a endocrine system that works, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas with child sexual destruction, there is no possibility of that. I'm still going to imply that it's worse.
I don't think.
The thing is, right? Okay, in case you didn't know, I think every time I've gotten the chance to speak to you, I've told you how much I love your strength and I love your voice and stuff. But there is a reason why people are saying this kind of specific topic is in bad taste. I think a lot of people are not necessarily disagreeing with you. I think a lot of people understand exactly what you're saying, but it is in poor taste, right? And the reason why is because. But there is literally a scale: bad, worse, worst. To imply something is worse than something else means it is in poorer taste, in poorer quality. It's more deplorable. To say something is worse is a superlative of that, which is even more than worse, which is even greater than bad. Do you know what I'm saying? It's literally goes in a scale order. So when you're literally comparing something to the other, you are literally by therefore saying one thing is better than the other. And that's just what's triggering a lot of people, because that thing you're comparing it to is such a really
to say one is better that's a straw man. You're using a straw man.
No, it's not. That's the implication, Lazar. Like that's the implication.
No, that is your implication.
No, it's not.
You
When
are
you
straw
use the
manning.
English language,
The implication, the real implication is that both are bad.
No, if you say something is worse than the other, you're implying a ranking system that this is at level 10 and this is at level 11.
It's not a ranking.
a ranking system, and I don't know how
No,
people aren't grasping
you,
that is how
you
language
have created
works.
that ranking system.
No, that's how
Okay?
language works.
This is
Laszlo.
why standpoint theory is bogus.
I
Literally
agree,
how
Martha, on
language
those
works.
things, but that is this on this. It literally is a ranking system. So
No,
it
you're
goes from
saying that
bad
if
to worst to worst. That is how.
Like maybe that's not what Martha
Okay.
implied,
If
but
we
to
said
say
they were
something is
the
worse
same,
creates a language, creates that,
where's the rank?
that rank system.
Hi. So
If
the
we said they
definition
were
of worth.
equivalent,
Hold on one second, Lazarus. The
if they were
definition of
equivalent,
worth
would that
is
be ranking?
Lazarus,
No,
hold on one second.
because you're
I'm
saying
just
they're
going to provide the.
Okay,
I just
then.
want to provide the definition. I just want to provide the definition for background. The definition of worse is poor quality or of lower standards, less good or desirable.
Less good, right? There's the rank.
Sure, yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that's all I'm getting at, right?
I don't think
understand
any-
Martha trying to make a comparison, but when we use the word like worse, better, worse, we're implying, and maybe that's not what Martha implied, and if she didn't, that's fine. But when we're doing that, we're making the implication that one is worse than the other, and I don't think we need to be doing that. We can say both are horrific. So let's not either.
I believe one is worse than the other.
Then you're a fucking weirdo,
and I'll,
Lazarus.
and I'll
then you're
stand
a
on
fucking
it,
weirdo.
and I'll stand on it, and I'll explain why if you'll let me.
You can explain why, but if you think one is worse, I think comparing child SA and child mutilation, they're both horrific. We don't need to compare them.
Okay, you don't have to gish gallop over me.
That's not
one
gish
is
galloping.
worse. One is worse.
Define gish galloping, Lazarus.
You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now.
That's an example.
You're talking over me right now.
Okay, let's let
and you're not
Lazarus
allowed.
go.
You
Let's
won't
let
stop
Lazarus go.
talking.
Let's get Manimal go.
Not
and
what
let's
gish
Rue
galloping
go.
is.
Okay, whatever. Let's just Lazarus, Manimal, Rue. Go ahead.
So I believe that it is worse because one is being normalized and institutionalized and backed up by so-called science to normalize it in every major Western institution in the world.
Yes.
That is why it is worse. One is being normalized. The other one we have condemned.
You're
It's
literally
widely
in the
condemned
process of
around the
condemning.
world. The other one is trying to be normalized.
Around the world
and
is
put-
crazy.
Well, that's
just
what I'm
wanna
trying
say
to do, Rue, by making the comparison rather than just saying they're both bad. Like, why would I even mention?
Because you
the
can
other?
get your point across by saying they're both bad, Martha.
But
When
why
you-
would I
and
even?
like-
Why would I even bring the other one up if I wasn't comparing?
Because you can make
them?
comparisons and not because you can say something is similar to something and they're both horrific without having to say one is worse.
But what about the things
Why
that are
should
worse
anyone
about it?
care about someone else's feelings and their trauma dumping?
Okay, but
I'm
here's the
sorry.
thing.
What about the
The
things,
rules
what about
point
the
to
things that are worse
so-
about it, though? I can't say the things that I feel are worse.
No,
Like when
but you
something-
can. But you can.
So when
No,
because-
you can. At the end of the day, right? Free speech. You can say what you want, but I think this is like the issue that people are having, right? You're saying you're comparing these things, and people are going to take it as you
Okay, Rue,
nullifying
do you
another's
think it's
experience.
worse
Orca,
if
I don't
an
know.
adult
I don't know, but
knows
the
that
middle of my
something is
sentence was
wrong
still
and
continuing.
they still
So
allow it
Orca,
to happen? Do you think it's
Orca,
worse?
I'm not going to
Okay,
shut
I'm
up.
sorry.
Do you think it's
But
worse?
anyways, as I was saying, hang
Yeah,
on.
nobody
Manimal,
cares
hang on,
because you
Manimal.
won't address
So what
the
I was
question
saying
because
was
it just like
we
your
don't need
argument
to
is
be
dumb.
comparing them, and the problem
Adults
is when you
doing
say one is
something that
worse
they know
than the
is wrong
other,
against
you're going to be
children, which is
nullifying someone's
grooming of the mind
experience
or
because their
otherwise,
experience
is worse.
may be worse.
Let
They may
me
feel
just
that
say
their
something that
personal
I'm going to drop. Let me
experience.
just say
Can
something.
I say something first, though, guys?
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
one
Manimal was
second,
next.
Manimal.
We'll do
One
Manimal.
second,
So-
Manimal. Yeah. So the
Can I say something first, Rue?
Okay,
Two things
Manimal.
can be worse than each other in different ways, right? Someone could say, oh, apples are worse than oranges as far as they taste.
right.
but-
So one is
but
better than
they're
the
not
other.
worse.
We've had this comparison.
Okay, so look, guys, two things can be worse than each other in different ways. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
It's
but
not
you're
a
still
zero-
implying
it's
one is
not-
better.
Okay, so yes, correct. It's not a
Right. So
zero-
you think child
Rue,
SA is better than
Rue.
child mutilation?
Rue, how about you answer this question? Would you rather be castrated or SA?
Neither.
No, you can't say neither. Neither is not an option.
Oh, no.
Neither is running away. Neither is being
I
disingenuous.
don't think they're comparable, Manimal.
I'm asking you the question. Would
But I
you-
don't think they're comparable.
doesn't
It's a
matter.
disingenuous question.
No, they are comparable. You can't say they're not comparable. That's like saying no. Look, that's like saying that these two foods aren't comparable because you don't want to compare them.
Wait, asking me if I prefer a fruit to another is entirely different from asking would I rather be sexually assaulted or genitally mutilated.
Yes. So why can't you answer the question?
Because I would want neither, Manimal.
You can't say neither.
And I would want neither to happen to any child.
No,
Oh my
see,
God.
that's the thing.
It's a hypothetical.
You're
It's
saying
so
that
disingenuous.
And it's a disingenuous
Okay, hold on.
hypothetical.
It's so disingenuous.
No.
Hold on, everybody, stop.
A
I think that
hypothetical test your
just a second,
logical
just a second, just a
consistency.
second.
And you
I
have
think
no
that this
logical
is
consistency,
Rue, hold on.
Lazarus.
I think this is what is being illustrated right now with this hypothetical, is that you're saying that I am saying one is actually good compared to the other.
No,
one.
I never said that.
So you're
When
saying
did I've said to you multiple
but that's
times,
what I think is being
acknowledge that
implied
you
here
said they're
with the
both
word
bad.
better, with the word
The
better,
word
with
better
the word
means
prefer, with the word
Better does not mean good.
positive
does not mean good.
But hold on,
Better
the
does not mean good.
So the positive connotation that's being put here is, I think, where the disingenuous demonizing of me is coming from. I am not saying that either are good or that I would prefer either to happen at all. But if I was given, hold on, if I was given that hypothetical, right, which is, not just myself, but multiple people who you are not canceling said they would rather, and I would rather have sexual attack happen than have my sexual body destroyed. That is what I would rather. Okay. And me saying that I would rather, because I think that the damage can be healed from through trauma therapy, through my life journey, whereas my sexual destruction can never be healed. I don't know how to make that point without you guys twisting it to sound like I'm saying that one is awesome and amazing.
Wait, but we never said that.
Terrible.
Wait, Rue, let me say something, Rue.
The whole time, hang on,
thing
just
is,
really
right,
quickly. The whole time, Martha, I've
Rue,
said
let
to
me
you
just
that I
say
acknowledge
something,
that
then
you
I'm
said
going
both
to
are
drop.
bad.
I'm literally going to drop. Martha, the thing is, right, objectively, I understand exactly what you're saying, objectively. But because these two things are, people can't help but be subjective because they are both absolutely deplorable. That is why it's so hard for people to hear this and kind of like be on your side. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and I am on your side in terms of most of the things you say as a GC. Do you know what I'm saying? But on this particular topic, I personally do think you should kind of drop it because, or at least see what people, because literally it is a ranking system and people will absolutely always be subjective on this. So it's going to be a really hard one for you to kind of to convince anyone that, one is worse than the other. Saying one is worse than the other doesn't mean the other thing is good.
Was
but
she
it doesn't imply
comparing
that
the
one thing is
actions
better.
or condemning it? You guys are skipping.
Yeah, but she's still
over that.
no, but she's still condemning it. But even in
No,
that
what
action,
society
she's still literally
condemns.
still saying that one
Is she
is
saying what
still
society should
implying
condemn
that
because
one
they condemn other types of grooming? Is that
No,
what
but-
she's saying, Pieces?
Okay, you're not listening. The thing
No,
is,
you're not listening. What
No,
did
wait.
she say? Because we
She's
do not condemn
as
it,
I
right?
literally said,
Full stop. It should be
saying
condemned,
something
correct?
is worse
No,
does
no,
not
you're a
mean the
turf,
other
right?
thing is
You agree.
good.
It should full stop.
Right. That's what they're not
should
understanding
be a
about the
thing,
basic
right?
English
Saying
language.
something is worse does not mean the other
She's
thing is
putting it
good.
on the adults
Everyone
of society.
understands
Who
that.
controls society?
But to
Children,
say something
babies?
is worse,
Adults.
it means that something
And we
else
should know better
that's
to
been compared to
castrate
is slightly
themselves,
better.
or you can
And I
be
think for
the
Martha's
opposite
sake,
sex
Martha, I
or
think for your
gender.
sake, you should drop this topic. But I support you regardless.
Question. Martha,
Animal,
are you
that's weird.
in
Nate is
Canada?
18.
I have a question,
Sorry,
Martha. Are
Martha,
you also
my
are
what
you in
Wi-Fi.
I think
Canada as
Rue was
well?
saying
What's that?
is
And I was just asking Martha if she's in Canada as well.
She is.
Yeah, I'm in
Okay.
Canada. Sorry, I'm leaving a Wi-Fi zone, so it'll just be a little bit wonky for a second. Yeah, so I just think the reason that this is an important comparison, and I guess I'm just going to keep saying it, like, because it is not condemned, because the impacts on their entire life are monumental. I don't think that that minimizes the monumental impacts of CSA. I think that people are taking that and just twisting it. I honestly think it's just a twist of saying, like, and a lot of people could see what I was saying right off the bat. Like, they were like, oh yeah, of course, like, castrating a child is worse. Like, people could just see that easily. But because the witch hunt happened, because the people decided to take this as a reason to be offended, then people were like, oh, well, yeah, let's do this. But if you want to genuinely see what I'm saying, both are an atrocity, both are bad, both are unforgivable. One is controversial and
Wait, that
allowed,
first part of
and
the sentence was
kids are
perfect,
being
Martha.
told
You can
it's
stop
their
there. That's
decision,
perfect. Both are
which
deplorable.
but kids are being told that they can consent, to this. Like, this is something that is accepted in society. This is something that is being fought for as far as protests go, as far as they're saying science backs it up. They're saying all this. Like, this is why I'm making the comparison and why I'm saying it's worse, because we've already achieved the everyone agrees P3 is absolutely abhorrent. It's not supported institutionally. It's not supported. And then the impacts, there is at least a possibility of healing through trauma therapy, through modalities, but you can never uncastrate a child. You can never give them back that healthy development that they took from them. There's no amount, like, their voice will never change back to a normal voice. They'll never get their breasts back. They'll, the bone loss issues, everything that happened to these kids, it's just, I don't know. I guess I really feel the comparison needs to be made. And the reason that worse is put in there is to be provocative, is to go, you guys, and not you, but like fucking society, you are condoning something worse. You are condoning something more irreparable. And that just needs to be said. Like, I don't know, you can disagree with me, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with the disagreement. What I have a problem with is the value judgment, like the fact that you guys think I'm a bad person for making this comparison or for feeling the way I do. That's what I'm flabbergasted by. Like, you can go ahead and disagree and be like, you know what, I don't see it the same way. That's fine. But the attack and the vitriol and the tearing down and the dragging and the trials and the disingenuous, deliberately misunderstanding, and lying. Like, you fucking assholes lied about me. You said that I condone CSA. You said that I want my child to be CSA. Like, you guys are fucking disgusting. Like, you guys are actually disgusting. The ones who dragged me the way that you did and fed me to the trans activists the way you did, fed them rumors about me saying I condone CSA, or that I think that, that I want my child, even though I said I myself would rather have gone through the CSA and the essay that I went through than to lose all the things that they're taking from children with this disgusting ideology that is perpetrated by P3 and P3 apologists, by the way. So that's what I have a problem with. Happy to debate, happy to disagree, happy to try to convince you of my perspective. But the demonization of me because of my perspective, I don't understand.
See, I don't understand, like, kind of what Rue was alluding to is like you could have just as much utility, if not more, if you just said, well, this is just as bad,
right?
And you could have even said it's arguably worse. And you
could just say it's just as bad.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that's the thing, Martha. I never said that
I'm arguing that it's worse.
I never said that you condone child essay, and maybe you weren't talking about me specifically when you said that. But I think it's the worst pit.
I wasn't talking about you about anything. I was just talking about what I've heard from my side.
Like, I acknowledge that you think both are bad, right? I've said that multiple times on this panel. I think it's the worst part that people are stuck on. Like, if you want to make the comparison that both impact, like, have trauma on children, and you're harming children in a sexual manner, then you can do that. But I think to say one is worse and then having like this thing that people are taking as a ranking system is the problem. And that's why that's my issue with it. And that's why I wanted to say that, because you asked if people have issue, ask. I think that's the problem. Like, you can say both are abhorrent and this is why they're abhorrent. But I think it's when you bring in the words like worse, like that kind of thing, it's creating a ranking system, and there are going to be people that feel like you're minimizing their trauma as CSA victims because you're saying what they went through isn't as bad as what this person is going through.
Well, I'm not, I mean, I definitely don't mean to be saying that what people are going through isn't as bad. What I am saying, though, is that we are condoning something worse. We are condoning something absolutely on another level of atrocity. And I really do believe that. Like, I think it is so, I don't even have strong enough words. Like, atrocity doesn't even cover it. It's just, and so that's why I make these provocative comparisons, and I try to be like, hey, I'm like poking people, like, what the fuck? Like, look at this. And then people are like, oh, it's not like they're true colors of what they think about it. They're just like, because of all the sanitizing language that comes in, like top surgery and gender affirming care and transition. That all sounds so much more benign than what's actually happening. And I think it's actually worked on people to the level of, when I say this, they're just like, they can't even fathom. Like, how could this be worse or even comparable? And that's the reason for the comparison. And I know that puts me in the fire. I know that puts me in the hot seat. I understand that, but I feel like I can defend it, and I feel like I am defending it. Like, I still don't understand, other than you saying it sounds like a ranking system, but it just isn't. It's not a ranking system.
I think maybe
saying
so.
that
Then my
saying
only
that like the
advice.
Holocaust is worse than, like, I don't know, some shooting or something. Like, that's not saying that I would prefer a school unaliving, or that, you know what I mean? It's not
Implicitly, though.
comparing anything.
I think, like, so I'm gonna drop Martha, but
It's showing the level of atrocity, the level of harm, the level, and it kind of, like, I guess I just don't know how else.
I think
if I just say, well, they're both bad, then I'm already comparing them.
I think
I'm already
so.
bringing them up in
I'm
different
gonna
context.
I'm gonna drop in a second, but I think,
can
like,
be worse than each other in different ways. I don't know if you guys understand that.
I think the way to go about it, and obviously I can't tell you how to formulate your arguments, whatever, Martha. Like, at the end of the day, you can debate how you want to debate, and you can make your arguments how you want. But I think, like I say, it's the word worse that's making them seem like they're now in a ranking system that people are upset with. I think you can say, like, hey, there's this thing, there's these two horrible things, and I think they're comparable in the sense that we're traumatizing children and we're hurting children, CSA and child mutilation. I think we can just say something like that, right? And like I said, I can't tell you how to formulate your argument, but I think the issue people are having mainly.
No, but that's why I had this. That's why I had this live, because I actually do want to hear constructive feedback instead of demonization. I would rather hear what you just said, because I want to take things like that into consideration. Because I want to be like, well, yeah, where am I going wrong here? How is this being misunderstood? How is this being received in a way? Because I'm absolutely astounded by the fact that people aren't just like, well, hell yeah, like, of course. But like what you're saying, like, I will take it into consideration, and I appreciate you genuinely coming in and offering it instead of just trying to demonize and insult and drag. So I do appreciate that, and I will consider it. I'll think about it. I'm not so convinced at the moment that what I'm saying can't be defended, or something I want to stand by still, but I will take that into consideration and see if it can have the same powerful impact. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I say, I came in here to have a conversation with you. That's what you asked, right? And I can't tell you how to formulate your debates. I'm definitely not witch hunting you. Like, you know, if you want to make that argument, you can. I personally disagree with it. I don't think it's comparable. But if that's an argument that you want to stand on, that at the end of the day, you're a grown ass woman and you can do that. But that would just be my constructive advice.
And I might actually just continue. I might just continue with it. But at the same time, I do appreciate, like, people coming and telling me their opinions respectfully. All I ask is that you don't create a value judgment on what I'm saying, as if I'm like trying to be a bad person, trying to, like, I feel the opposite. I feel like you guys are minimizing what child sexual destruction is, and that's where the outrage is coming from. So I'm kind of as outraged as you are, but in the opposite sense, where I'm just like, how can you not see what I'm fucking saying? The only way I can fathom that you're not seeing it is that you just don't see it as comparable, like as serious, as damaging, as bad. You can see the level of atrocity that we're on here with children. But yeah, no,
yeah.
Again, I appreciate you coming up, and
for sure, I'm gonna drop down. It's like I say,
putting
I think,
your perspective forward.
Okay, objectively horrific, but I'm gonna drop. But yeah.
But and Rue, one of the reasons I blocked you was because you were on me, not only trying to assassinate my character over this, but they had blatantly lied about what I was saying, and you fucking knew it. They were saying that I condoned, they're like, oh yeah, and her condoning CSA is just too wild for me. And you stood there and wasn't like, all the people who were up on that panel stood there and wasn't like, oh my fucking God, no, she did not say that. She did not say anything fucking like that. And so that's what I realized, like, because if people are just going to sit around and let each other go down in flames on lies, especially because it's fucking lies. Like, I would never, in that manner, I would never say that I condone CSA, but people running with it the way they're running with it just shows how toxic and disgusting this community is. But anyway, I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything.
Hey, Martha, I got a quick story if you guys, very short. I'm a high school teacher, and I witnessed the rise of cell phones in my career. And in recent years, I was in the habit of saying in class, in front of students, those things are worse than drugs. To which my teenage students would say,
you gotta say like rugs or DRU.
Which my teenage, you're telling us we can do D-rugs. And I'm like, no, D-rugs are illegal. Not everyone is doing D-rugs all day long. The adults are not allowing
maybe say D because it sounds exactly the same. I just don't want the lies to get taken down. Just say aren't doing D's because it sounds exactly the same. But go ahead.
But you see my point. It was the exact same thing. I said those cell phones are worse because they're allowed and condoned, and they are damaging because I saw them as damaging my students' focus, abilities, happiness, all the rest.
Oh yeah, it destroys their so many things about their like development and their ability. Like it creates like this dopamine. Like
so I made the
imbalance
comparison
that like may not be ever.
And I made
So are you saying is your point that like you shouldn't have said worse? You should have said something else, or what was?
No, my point is exactly your point. Is that they're worse because they're not the cell phones are not recognized potentially more destructive in terms of the volume, like because D's, not everyone was doing D's ever all the time, and the total harm I saw as a bigger, more pervasive problem, and the fact that the adults were sort of not doing anything about it.
Where the adults are literally supplying it to the children, right? So
supplying it. Exactly.
This is a really good example of how two things can be worse than each other at the same time.
Yes.
At different levels, obviously, shrugs are worse because they're actually like affecting the physical body. But and as far as like addictiveness, as far as like addictive potential, and as far as like adults giving it to the children, okay, no, the phones are worse. It's the same thing with the whole blackface thing. It was like, no, if you're saying one's worse, then it's a zero-sum game. That must mean that it's totally worse. No, in some ways, blackface was worse than the drag or whatever. But in other ways, you can obviously say that women's face currently, blackface never went to the level that woman face has gone to now. Like the way that it's like,
and the acceptability of it.
Exactly. So it's like,
and it's evolving forever. Like it just keeps evolving with its misogyny and its destruction of our humanity as women. Like it just. And everyone's celebrating it and putting it in front of children and having children participate in it. And like, so yeah, that's all I guess.
Right. And so it's like, that's kind of what I'm.
Do you think I should say something other than worse, or I don't know?
No, I don't think you should amend your language at all. I think people just need to comprehend that like two things, just because I say, look, apples are worse than oranges, on some level doesn't mean that like they're not worse or like that they're worse than oranges on every level. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, that's true.
The thing is, so I still think, though, that you could still have plenty of utility. Like, I think that's the thing that I would say, like, as a critique is, like, you just prioritize the utility of, like, what you're saying, like, the linguistic tool. Because you could just say that it's arguably worse, like, these things are bad, and this is arguably worse, and
so
I think it would just have more utility because when you
make more specific comparisons rather than be as broad with the comparison. Is that what you mean? You like be like
suppose,
here's
yeah, that's one
here's
way.
the
Rather
That's
than
one
just
way.
specifics that
saying
I
it's
find
worse,
worse.
period, like say in the ways that it's worse. It's obviously worse because
Okay, yeah.
like loss of complete function. That's obviously worse, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
we're not trying to
that's
compare
why I
the
think because some people are
experiences.
No,
definitely gonna
I think you
feel.
guys are right. I think you guys are right. Rather than just saying it's worse across the board, which kind of it does pack a punch, which is
You
kind of
see
what
what
I'm
I'm
trying to
saying?
do.
Yeah.
But if I be more specific about here's how it's worse, but not say it's worse across the board, that might be received more
Right.
like
And
right.
also that it's
And then
and
you know what,
also that
Martha?
it's
Here's the
coming
hold on. Let me say
from
this. Let me
it's
just say this.
coming from
Just
adults. It's coming from it's condoned. It's
Yeah.
allowed. It's celebrated. That's a powerful
yeah, I just
It's
want to
said
say this.
as if it's science and treatment and it's care.
yes,
Well, and it's
yes.
worse sense that it's like irreparable. You can't go back from castration. You can't like, oh well,
Yeah.
let's heal from this. Like no, you can't heal.
And the impacts of castration are like they're far reaching, like
And then
into their
Martha,
whole
I think
lives.
I don't know if you like actually like remember having any discussions with me at all. I don't think there's any reason that you would. But
Maybe.
yeah, I mean, because I've said this, I've made this kind of critique before with like sometimes like how you argue things. Like take for example the autogonophile stuff. Like I don't think that does anything for the discussion. Like
Oh,
you don't
it
need. Wait, hold
100%
on.
does.
Okay, see, this is what I mean. Like you don't need
No, but
that to be.
that one has we can't speak enough about it. Like it needs to be like people need to that is almost like the thing that will undo this ideology is like how much this is driven by autogynephilia and how much this is like why the sexual
But you don't.
boundaries are being broken down in
Okay,
society so
here's the
that
thing.
paraphilias could be
But
lived
you
out.
don't
Like that
need.
all really needs to be talked about like so
Okay,
much.
but you don't even need. That's what I mean. Like you don't need to have that in any like within the framework of your argument for you to be like critical and validly critical of.
Well, I know there's plenty to critique because there's plenty of like atrocious harms that this ideology does. However, autogynephilia is a big piece of the puzzle that 100% isn't talked about enough. Isn't there's not enough knowledge on it. People don't even know what that is. Before I started on this app, people didn't even know what the fuck that was. The amount
Yeah,
of
but
the amount of education that I myself have even done that have put this in the light. And I hope to go forward into the hyper feminine gay men who are wearing women as a costume, trying to convince them to kick the autogynephiles out of their community so that we can actually fight this on more of a productive ground. But that's the first step. Like they need to just like the gay community needed to kick out the P3s with the paraphilias. The so-called trans community needs to kick out the paraphilia, like the autogynephiles. So I think I can never back off that one. I'm not even going to sort of back off that one.
I'm not saying that you need to back off of it. Really, I'm just saying it doesn't really have very much utility to say that because
I
you could
think it
still
does.
be critical. You could still be critical of the ideology, even absent that, and it wouldn't diminish anything
Oh,
that you're.
somebody got a violation. Does anyone know who got a violation? Did someone see a violation on their screen?
I don't know. I haven't been speaking to anyone, so I didn't see one.
I'm transporting. Martha, I'm going to lose a signal here shortly, but I really appreciate you having me up, even though we don't agree on a lot of things.
Yeah, no worries. I'm always happy to have anybody. If anyone's genuine, I'm happy to have them on. My
The
favorite. I love to debate.
Part. I have seen. I forget his name, but he is open. He's open about being an autogynephile, and he is condemning this practice. And he has stated that it has become a Trojan horse for this this transgenderism.
Yeah.
I'll have to find his name
It's the driving factor to this entire ideology. Yeah, no, it's the literal driving factor of this entire ideology. Like
But you
this
see
is
what
not
I
a
mean, like
grassroots
Martha. I'm just
movement
trying to
from
say
the
that
gay men.
you don't need autogynephy. Like you don't even. That's not necessary to even say that. Like, oh, they need to be like women need to have their spaces.
Yeah, no, it's one of the
You know what I'm saying?
it's one of the many reasons. No, but I totally get what you're saying. But I think the education and the pointing out of how much this is autogynephilia is like absolutely crucial for this fight, and absolutely crucial for other women to be like, we're not having empathy for this anymore. Because why would you have empathy for a group of perverted men who don't even see you as human beings to the degree that they want to wear you as a costume for their fetish and violate your boundaries for their titillation? Like, this is just, it's absolutely crucial to point that out. And I think that, like, somebody just joined this app. His name's Anna Trust. He was subject to mutilation, castration, everything. And he fights the autogynephile fight like harder than I do, because he sees that this is what it's all about: the breaking of the sexual boundaries down so that men can practice their paraphilias with sanction, like from the society, with celebration, with permission. They can do it at work. We've got them practicing their fetish like in courts of law, at work, in front of their families, involving their kids in their fetish, in women's spaces, in women's prisons,
And
sports.
see, this is where
It's all become a
we
playground for
start to disagree
paraphilia.
though on this, because I don't think there's a way to quantify. Because I've been with two autophiliacs, women who are just attracted to themselves, and I don't even like. How do you even make the distinction between somebody who's just attracted to themselves and are turned on by like just
I don't think that
body?
autogynephilia is ever just like simply of autosexuality. I think it's a paraphilia because it, like, just the way that it's manifesting in society indicates that it's a paraphilia. Paraphilia is being it's not just enough for them to be attracted to themselves as a woman. They need to breach boundaries and consent. And they need to involve people in the fetish without their
But they
consent.
could
So
just be. This could just be
that's the
just an
difference.
aspect of like the fetish, I guess, where they see like a lot of, I guess, attention surrounding women, and they're just making this link between attention and admiration in woman, and they're just, it's
I
not, you know what
wouldn't
I
give
mean, like
them
it's not
that much.
necessarily
I
the
wouldn't give
woman
them so much
themselves,
the
but
benefit of the doubt
what
like that. I think that's.
but,
I don't think
okay, but
it's.
I'm just saying that you could dispute it. Like it's something that can be disputed, and I don't think it even needs to be disputed. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it really does anything for the discussion, because it's like it's not really something that you can quantify, really, and it doesn't.
It's pretty
You don't
easy to
need to. You don't need
quantify.
to.
It's pretty easy to see. It's as easy to see
Okay,
as a
but you
guy
don't even
walking
need it.
around
You
with a
don't
gimp
even need
suit.
it to qualify. You don't even need it to qualify like what they're doing as a violation of women's spaces and whatnot. Like,
No, I don't need it, definitely, but I'm definitely going to keep going with it because it's really important. But thanks for your feedback on that. Did anyone else want to say anything?
Dropped because I got dinner, but I still don't feel like Martha was wrong. She said initially that it's because we don't condemn it in society, and yeah, that's it. Because
yeah, I
we
see what you
actually
look. I
don't
see
condemn it
why she
overall.
said. Like, I can
But
understand
yeah,
where.
yeah. But I gotta head out. Bye, Martha.
Okay, thanks for having my back. You're awesome, and you're one of the lives I will join in the future. Like, I've been wanting to get out of this toxic community just because of all the things I mentioned before. But I feel like genuine people like Manimal or Esme or whatever who are still having lives, like, I'll jump into those still, and as well as my own, because I do like joining other people's lives. But I gotta stay out of this toxic,
Oh yeah.
clout chasing, hierarchical
Oh yeah.
drama vampire community that the GC community has turned into, or has maybe always been. I don't know, but yeah.
Probably, yeah. And I would think, yeah, I would think so. And you know what? Like, I don't even. That's one more reason I don't go live that often. But I'm also, because like I'm trying to stay remote from that stuff, and I think I do a pretty decent job of it. But no, I tried to like invite you over to a couple prompts I've done. I think
Are you're
I think
Clay,
you like
right?
it. What's that?
Are you Clay?
No, the Great Work. I've always done the
Oh,
Great Work project on here.
the Great
But
Revival. What prompts do you usually do?
yeah, I'll just bring them up on here. So
Yeah, I'm happy to join if you ever want to. If you want my specific perspective on anything or whatever, just share me out. I'm just staying away from like the regular crew that like the club, staying out of the club because they probably don't want me anymore anyway. But even if they find it in their hearts to forgive my transgression and deem me
Look,
worthy of
some of it is
their
gaslighting.
presence.
So some of
Well,
it is definitely gaslighting.
it's unbelievable. Like, and the fact that so many people right off the bat agreed, but like because they didn't capitulate. And this is the thing about groups. That's why everything turns into a cult so easily, is because the group hierarchies and the group popularity and the group like dynamics start to play a real part, and they just become toxic really easily. And I think like the TikTok environment creates like a toxic environment pretty easily, just because we're not like we don't have the nuance of our body language, and we're not in our energy fields together, and we're just it's a bit like the separation of the keyboard warrior, but we do have like the inflection of our like because we're speaking, so there's nuance in my voice. You can hear sincerity in my voice, on and on. But so it's a bit better than keyboard disconnection, but it's not much better. Like, so it's already an environment that's easily turned toxic. But yeah, so I'm happy to stay the fuck away from them. But yeah, no, invite me if you ever want
This
to
is
come.
one of my prompts, by the way. I don't know if you want to expand it or if you can see
Just
it.
one sec. I'm just getting somewhere. Should this be taught to kids? Should they be teaching at all? Why am I not? Yeah, no, that's a good one too. And there's so many there's so many ways to attack this ideology, and I 100% agree with you. Like, there's so much harm being done in so many different levels that like you could attack any of them. I try to attack all of them. But yeah, there's so much harm. Like the indoctrination of kids in school, you can focus on that exclusively, right? Like there's so much to focus on within this harm of the ideology.
Yeah, I don't know if you would like this one right here.
There's no such thing as sex work. Women are trans women. Body count matters. I definitely am very anti prostitution, sex exploitation of women. I don't think that to call it work is another way of sanitizing like extreme exploitation and harm in society. So I'm 100% with you on that. I don't think that they're trans women. I just think they're men. And body count mattering. I don't know how I feel about the body count one. I've never really been involved in that debate. I don't feel very strongly about it one way or the other.
Right. And then let me see what else I got here.
Mellow Moon, did you want to say anything?
Oh yeah. I think this one. I think you would really. Well, I don't know if you would enjoy this one necessarily, but I think this would intrigue you at the very least.
If we as men can find honor unaliving in battle. Oh. Why did someone mute you? What? If these men can find honor, why can you as women find honor slaving over hot stove? I think that one's going to be inflammatory, probably, just because, I don't know. I think we can support each other. Like, I have a problem with the whole Andrew Wilson, Andrew Tate, red pill movement of saying, like this very transactional view of male and female dynamics.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, I think that, like, I think, like, actual masculinity is knowing that being the protector and provider of women and children, like, allows humanity to evolve and go on, and it's an absolute honor and a duty, and to be like, well, what are you doing for me? Are you cooking? Like, I just don't, I feel like if we create healthy dynamics between men and women, like, I personally, as a woman, love to serve my husband. I love to be of service to him as much as possible, make his life easier. And
yeah. You cut out, by the way. I can't hear what you're saying. If you're still talking.
Oh, she's gone.
Okay. Well, but here's the thing. I agree with what she's saying. Like, I think that they're definitely like, regardless of like if it's red pill or feminism, like they do have a tendency to reduce relationships to mere transaction. I've been like,
There's no reason to be super transactional in our thinking over each other. I think that if we love and cherish each other, we want to do what we do as men and women for each other to the fullest extent, and that's just healthy dynamics. But like trying to hold people and be like, you're not, I don't find it good.
Yeah. You cut out for it a little bit.
I don't find it good.
Yeah. You cut out for it a little bit, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I just had a phone call. I'm just gonna drop you guys. Or Mello, did you want to say something before I drop you?
All I came up here, so I requested when the talk was kind of hot, right? I found a lot of
Yeah, you can
find a lot of sentiment in what Rue was saying with how it could really come across as minimizing to these other issues. But I, like as the live went on, I also kind of understand what Manimal was getting at. So I guess I'm kind of in the middle. It's kind of hard, and I'm not sure if you really know me at all in terms of the debate space, anyway. So.
Not really, but maybe I know you from a different name.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the genuine feedback. Like I think saying it's worse across the board might be too triggering, but pointing out why it's worse in certain ways, I think it might have the same effect, though. I think people would still twist it and take it wrong, because if people are going to be offended and want to be offended, they're going to be. There's nothing I can do about it. And if they want to try to assassinate my character and they find an opportunity to do so, they're going to do it no matter what I say. But for the genuine people who have feedback that might help me get my point across more clearly, because I do really stand 10 toes down on the fact that.
Get out again. I don't know if you're still talking. But yeah, I mean, I would say that I agree that things can be worse or perhaps better than other things.
I didn't hear anything you just said because I had a phone call. I'm sorry.
You got cut off, so you can
Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I really do stand. I really do stand 10 toes down on this, because I just cannot believe us as a society are condoning the sexual attack of our children and condoning the sexual destruction and attack on our children, but then making a huge moral judgment about the sexual attack on our children, and then the impacts of the sexual destruction being permanent. So I'm going to keep on with that, but I will try to be more sensitive, I guess, about the finality of saying it's worse and then not elaborate. I felt like I did elaborate though, so I don't know. Whatever.
Martha, does the energy come? Sorry to interrupt. Does the energy come because we're Canadians and they're pushing it in Canada? Where in the States they have laws depending on the state that they're in that are protecting, or having pushback. But in Canada we have no pushback. So here we don't see it as. Here we can draw that comparison because there is no victim and there is no there's no condemning of one over the other, right? In Canada, they are pushing it. They are suggesting it. Anyone that's not for it has getting backlash, or they're getting doxxed or hate campaign or riots or speeches.
What's worse is that, like, in Canada, if a therapist tries to help a child deal with the comorbidities, or as soon as they hear gender dysphoria or anything around that, they have to refer them to a gender clinic, which is a pipeline to transition. So if a therapist tries to explore the comorbidities or the eating disorder or the autism or whatever, they are being accused of conversion therapy, and you can be losing your license, you can be arrested. So this is a whole they're streamlining children to this destruction, and they're being forced to do so.
I think if they ask more questions, understand the energy. If they have even said, why do you have more energy for this than the other? And ask that in a comparison, why are you saying this? Why do you have more energy for one than the other? Or why are you guys not condemning one over the other? It would then kind of pick your brain to understand the thought process, which I just did, asking this question as a Canadian. Is your energy behind this, or is the reason why you made such a bold statement in comparison, was it because in Canada, no, don't speed up now, you weren't fucking driving before. Sorry, I'm driving. In Canada, there's no holdback. There's no laws protecting. If anything, it's encouraged. And if you don't agree, you can lose your license, you can be jailed, you can be fined, you could be you can basically lose your way of life by having an opinion that doesn't go with the majority. So I feel like if they had asked that question, why did you make that? Why are you so passionate? Why are you making this comparison? And based on what? Then I think it would kind of draw a picture to see why you're so, not I want to say emotional, but so grounded and steadfast in your stance.
Yeah. I agree, and I think that that's what I keep saying. The problem I had was with the demonization of my character, as if I'm nefariously sitting there trying to be evil and I'm bad. That's absolutely my stance is rooted in the absolute anger and rage and horror that I feel at what we're doing as a society to our children in the name of this ideology. And I guess it's just it's sad to me that people would rather try to take me down as an individual and misunderstand me deliberately to assassinate my character and to make it seem like I'm this terrible person rather than try and understand what I'm saying. And that, I guess that was my attempt here today, was to just be do you actually want to try and understand what I'm saying? And some people did and some people didn't. And so, yeah, I think I accomplished what I was trying to accomplish here. Mello, did you say you wanted to finish up what you were saying and you were going to drop?
Just a couple of things probably. All I'll say is that I sympathize with what was said in regards to how we should be able to talk about issues as they are without indexing them to anything else, especially in a manner that would.
Oh, you're really muffled. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Here, hold on. Sometimes my mic is pick up some case. Is this any better, or is it still bad? Okay. Yeah. So I think we should be able to talk about issues or prop them up, and in a way that's not indexing to anything else, especially in a manner that would come across as minimizing. I don't know. Because you said that people were lying or slandering your character and things that you didn't say, and I won't speak on that or perpetuate it because I don't know. I wasn't there. All I'm speaking on and everything I'm saying is in reference to just specifically the incident of comparing CSA to GAC. That's all I'm speaking on. I want to make that clear.
Okay. Yeah, no worries. Well, thanks for coming up and letting me know what you think. And yeah, Alyssa, thanks for your honest feedback and your support.
You're welcome. I just don't think you hate. The words that are being thrown now is that you hate people and you wish people didn't exist and all this stuff. And I've never heard you say that. I've never heard you use that type of language. You feel strongly and you wish that this wasn't the case and you want to protect young girls and women. But I don't think you're calling for the termination or deletion of a whole community. And the fact that this is the narrative that's being spun is just pretty unfair, especially when it's something of simply a miscommunication of a simple word. What is the definition of the word and what is the context of how you're using the word? That is it. And then from that, it's just spun into this anarchy. And again, what I said earlier, it derails from the original statement, or it derails from the original mission of why we're having these lives, why there is something called a GC community. It takes away from that and it pushes a narrative that we are fighting amongst each other and we're not unified and we don't have a common understanding of what the goal is and what we're actually arguing or why we've been having these lives. Now it's a whole, she hates him or he, him. It's pinpointing people against each other as opposed to putting the energy into what the mission was from the beginning, which is educating and highlighting how far in society we've come and what's going on and what we can do as a collective to stop this and have a voice and share stories and support each other and educate each other. That is what it started as, and now it's just spun into this oh, it's just disgusting to see. So I just wanted to come in and say, as a fellow Canadian, I understand your energy, I understand your passion, and I understand why you're so 10 toes down on it, because we don't have the same rights and protections for women and girls as they do in the States. We don't have a president standing up for us. We have a Liberal Party that's selling us out to the nearest and fattest bidder. So we have to stand together, and we do have to speak up. And it is the older generation to step out and to protect the younger generations. And it's just sad to see where the state of affairs in this community has gone. So I just wanted to come and say that.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate your perspective, and I appreciate what you're saying too about how this community is not here to fight this fight. And that's why I wanted to leave TikTok, why I was like, okay, I'm out. This is not what you guys aren't here for this. Obviously, you're here to play. And I know that a lot of the people who are doing the playing are just really young kids, like 18 to 24 or whatever. And I understand the need to have a bit of a playground here, but I'm not here to play. I'm not here to like do the popularity contest, do the hierarchies, do the toxic, like cliquey dynamic environment. And that's why I was like, when this happened, I was like, fuck all you guys. Like, you guys are just, you're not here for the fight. Like, there would be some solidarity. There would be some genuine, like, benefit of the doubt, like, hey, like, what did you mean by that? Or I disagree because of this reason, instead of just like, oh my God, you're the worst for saying that. Like, it's just so immature and stupid. And it just really made me realize like where this community is at, as far as like who's here to actually fight the ideology and who's here to just fuck around and drama vampire and have their friends and their cliques and their whatever. And then that's fine. Like, I mean, I'm not necessarily dissing having your friends and your cliques and your hierarchies and your, you know, outrages and your mob attacks and whatever. It's just not something I want to do. Like, I'm not here for that. I'm here to actually try to change minds about this ideology. And the reason why I made this comparison, I think, is it is provocative. It is like, hey, like, you can't really condemn sexual attack and condone sexual destruction. And one is worse for, because of these reasons, right? Here's the reasons why this is worse. And you can argue that SA might be worse for these reasons. And I'm certainly willing to hear that out as well. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to leave. But then I realized, okay, but I do like having a voice here. I do like the people who do support and who are here to fight. I do, you know, there's been a lot of work as far as the accounts and stuff. So I just thought, okay, I'll do my own lives. And yeah, I'll jump into like people like Manimal or Esmery, or not Esmery, the constant race baiter, but the Esme, the woman who's fighting. Yeah, so you will see me on lives like this. I don't necessarily need to do this comparison again as a debate, but I might actually do it again just as a debate, because I do want to understand, I want to convince people that this is on par, and also for the reasons why it's worse. I want people to understand that, because the people who condone, because there's still people in the middle ground who are like condoning, they're like, oh yeah, well, it's okay to like, or they believe in the true trans narrative, right? They believe that there's this thing called true trans and it's legitimate and it's real. And it's not. Like, there's no such thing as a trans kid. There's no such thing as being born in the wrong body. Hold on, let me... Gonna take the dogs for a walk. And you're coming with me. Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, there's still people who it is controversial in their mind, and I want to be like, hey, are you against P3? Well, yeah, of course, absolutely. Okay, then why are you for the sexual destruction of a child? Do you think kids can consent? Can kids consent to sex? No. Can kids consent to their sexual function being taken from them forever? No. So, you know, those aren't even the only impacts. Like someone mentioned in the comments, they were like, it doesn't always destroy fertility. And it's like, well, you know, that's not the only reason why this is an atrocity. Like, that's just one of the reasons that it affects fertility in the way that it does. Like, if you castrate a male, that's it. The fertility's gone, right? And you might say, oh, well, before they castrated him, they froze some sperm or something. And it's like, okay, so now you're relying on big fertility, which, by the way, is profiting off of this despicable ideology. And it doesn't always work. And it's, anyway. We don't need to be castrating our boys, thanks. We don't need to be not allowing sexual function to develop in the first place. We don't need to be keeping kids in prepubescent states past the age of consent. We don't need to take an ideology that was perpetrated by P3s and P3 apologists and sexually attack and destroy our children. Grooming society to see that kids can consent to this. If we groom society to believe that kids can consent to the sexual destruction of their bodies and their fertility and their future sexual function, as well as their healthy whole bodies, what else are we grooming society to say that kids can consent to? Because the people who perpetrate this ideology are the same people who are trying to tear down the sexual boundaries of society and normalize paraphilias. A lot of them are P3s and P3 apologists, and they, like the W path, is connected to a castration cult that gets off on castrating children, castrating each other. The eunuch archives is, if you ever want to look into the W path files, which is an expose of the W path and their connection and their prominent board members' connection to the eunuch archives and their fantasies about castrating boys and the swapping of like medical footage of castrating boys because of this ideology. Like, you need to understand that it comes from an extraordinarily sinister place, and they've managed to groom society into viewing this as care, as necessity. Like, all of a sudden we need to fucking destroy our children sexually in order to keep them alive. Like, somehow these idiots have convinced society of this. So yeah, I think provocative comparisons need to be made, and I feel really comfortable with making them. And if that somehow in your mind makes me a bad person, I guess I just don't get it. And to be quite frank, in my mind, you thinking I'm a bad person for making that comparison makes me think you're a bad person, because you think castrating